This is the beautiful SX-70 folding Polaroid camera, and it's the first thing I'm going to talk about on my new film photography channel. I thought this would be something good to start with because it's one of the most genuinely beautiful cameras and pieces of equipment that I've used. And while looks obviously aren't the most important thing about a camera, it really helps if a tool is beautiful and something that you want to pick up and is a pleasure to use. And I'm a classy, elegant guy, so I deserve a classy, elegant camera. I love this camera. I have had some issues with it in the past, which I'll talk about later. So it is beautiful, but not without its faults. While this isn't the main camera that I use, I think this will be a good thing to talk about while I'm finding my feet with this channel, before I build up to hopefully sharing the sides of photography that I'm most passionate about. So we are starting with this. I've used it mostly on holiday, which is where I think it really shines for me. It tends to be something I pick up a bit more infrequently and for more casual fun use. Each year, me and my wife go on the ferry over to France, which is super fun in itself, and there's plenty of kitsch stuff to shoot on the ferry. Then on these trips, we tend to travel along and camp on the Atlantic coast, where you get really beautiful light and these lovely little quaint French villages, and these really beautiful beaches, which are all great places to make the most of this camera. It's definitely at its best when there's loads of light, which is sadly not something that we're famous for in Manchester. But in that full sunshine in the summer, you can get some really cool, atmospheric, vibey vintage photos with this. It feels like something nice to take with you as well, exploring around little towns. It's pretty unobtrusive. It's not like you're waving like a big long lens in people's face. And you get that distinct Polaroid look. And of course you're getting your finished images ready to hold straight away, which is also cool when you're away traveling or on holiday, I think. And this camera is a really beautiful piece of design. It folds up elegantly, making it easy to take with you and just hang over a shoulder to walk around with. And because it's light and flat, it's not dissimilar to carrying around a paperback book, except cooler. So I'm going to talk a little bit about the experience of using the camera and share some images. And then at the end, some of the drawbacks and issues that I've had with it. I'm not going to be focused on technical things here. I'm not a nerd, and you can find all the technical things that you want online. I want to talk about the creative and fun stuff, focus more on the photography, or at least the experience and results from using different cameras or film stocks. The hope, the heartbreak, the vibes. But it will help me to explain some of what I really enjoy about this camera if I touch on a couple of things about it before we get going. So the camera itself is obviously an instant camera which shoots Polaroid film. Mine's converted to shoot Polaroid 600 film. It's actually one of the refurbished models with a new motherboard, so you can also use it with an app and have some manual control and even remote shooting with this, which I'll come back to these a little bit later. It's an SLR style camera, so what you see through the viewfinder is the image that's actually coming through the lens. So what you see is what you get, basically. And it's a manual focus camera, which I really like. I'm used to focusing manually with my other film cameras, and I like that feeling of control, and I haven't found it difficult to do. As I say, I've really had the images that I like most on bright summer days, which is nice because bright midday sun is not typically the most desirable thing for shooting with my other film cameras, but on Polaroid, there's something kind of cool about the images that you get. There's a timelessness to the images too, and at first glance, some of the pictures, especially from around the beaches, look like they could be straight out of the 1970s. This image of the people playing volleyball is one that I particularly like because of that, I think. And it's also quite appealing to use this on hot days where you maybe don't want to be carrying a big camera or taking as much time taking a photo. You don't really have many settings to mess with, so it's really simple and quick to just look through, focus, and shoot. And because you're not really doing much with settings and there's no editing afterwards, there's really nowhere to hide with the images. And sometimes the photos just don't work, but then it's a real thrill when they do. Maybe because I don't expect perfection with Polaroids. Even when they don't come out great, there's often still kind of a charm to them. Most of the photos in this video are from before I had the camera fixed, so I was still having some issues with the exposures, but I still was getting some photos that I liked. And seeing those photos you've just taken appear still feels like a little bit of magic every time to me. I really like using the camera for little snapshots and memories, things that I probably wouldn't shoot on a bigger camera, just nice little moments. And because you can pop it over one shoulder and go out with it without needing a bag, I also found that I sometimes take it with me when I wouldn't really normally want to carry another camera. I mainly shoot medium format film with the Pentax 6.7, so this is quite a contrast to that. And of course you've got very different levels of resolution and image quality, and I wasn't really sure whether I would like Polaroids at first because of that. And I maybe wouldn't want to bother with one of the more kind of plasticky modern Polaroid cameras, so perhaps I'm just being a bit of a hipster with this, but I do find that I really enjoy carrying and using this camera. And even though it's very simple, it does have a few features. You have exposure compensation on here, so you can intentionally over or under expose images, although I really haven't messed with that very much. And I touched on the new motherboard that I have in mine, which allows you to shoot 600 film in this camera, and it gives you access to this app where you could put in different manual controls and use a remote shutter. So I've used that a little bit, but again, generally I find that I actually use the camera just in a very simple way, just picking it up, focusing and shooting with it. And then literally just today, I got a flash to use along with this camera. While I was thinking about making the video, I came across some images that I really liked with Polaroid using flash, so I've got one to have a little experiment with, and if I get any good images, I will pop them in here. And then hopefully I'm going to come back to this camera again in another future video or photo trip. So I'll finish up with a few of the camera's pros and cons. For me, the beauty and cleverness of the design are probably its biggest strengths. The cliche is that the best camera is the one that you have with you, so something that you really want to pick up and use and that's so handsome and compact is really cool. Is it as handsome as our cat, the Scruffalo? No, but that's too high of a standard. He's going to feature fairly heavily on here, by the way, I would expect, so if you're subscribing, get on board with the Scruffalo now. Another thing I liked was having this baked in look and these finished images that you can't edit. Sometimes I really want to take my time over an image, but there is also something nice about sometimes having those options just taken away from you. Just having something imperfect but immediately finished. And last summer I was preparing in my real work life to be on Great British Menu on the BBC. So I was under a lot of pressure and didn't really have much time, and I didn't want to come back from my holiday and have loads of photos to develop and to edit, so it was quite nice to really use this and just be able to have that more spontaneous fun with the camera. Then there are some noticeable cons and some reasons I haven't shot maybe as much with this recently as I might like. I did have some early reliability issues with this, and last summer it was probably only working about half the time before I got it fixed. Now it's been super reliable since then, but these do have a lot of electronic parts, so you might pick one up that looks like it's aging beautifully on the outside, but it's hard to know whether it might be a total mess inside in its soul. Then there is the expense, and all film is expensive, but the price of Polaroid film I think really stings. And if you have issues with the camera, then it's like you're just burning money if the shots don't come out. And even when it's working perfectly, I've still had plenty of bad shots because the exposure latitude is so narrow for this film, so it's really easy to get things wrong. It doesn't have that safety net and buffer of something like Portra 400. And then lastly, there's the scanning, or what you might want to do with your finished images. They look great in person, but I've struggled to find a way to digitize them that I like, and so it's been hard to share them online, which, you know, shouldn't really be that important, and it's lovely to have them in person and stick them on the fridge or put them in an album, but in the bleak modern world it is nice to have a way of making these things digital too. That definitely can be done, and I've experimented a little bit, but just not really found a method that I'm happy with yet. But this is still a camera that I love. I can't imagine ever getting rid of it, and making this video has made me want to get out and shoot with it more. I hope that this channel is going to be a cool side project where I get to keep sharing and improving my photography. I'm just sort of figuring out what I'm doing with this stuff, so do please be nice to me, but also say hi in the comments if you've made it all the way through. Obviously, there's already way too much stuff on YouTube and no one needs another film photography channel, so thank you for sticking with me and watching, and hopefully I'll see you soon.